Hi, good morning, sir.
Hi, good morning. Okay, how's everyone? Are you almost done with your individual speech? Hi, good morning. Okay, yes. I saw some of you submitted already. The outlined on Moodle and BF DSENG. I'm going to talk about that more tomorrow. If you're not done, it's all right. We still have more than 7 days to go for the submission and also your actual presentation. If you're not done, it's fine. Take your time. You still have a lot of time to go through. And again, BF, BSENG, probably hold off from submitting first because I've already opened. I'll just share with you later towards the end of the class. I already opened the submissions, but probably for all of you, I will see you all tomorrow first for the tutorial class. But Citigroup, since I've met all of you, we've discussed and clarified all of the Q&A. I'm pretty sure it's a bit clearer. So if you are done, you can start submitting for Citigroup. The remaining, I'll see you tomorrow first. We'll discuss, then probably you can start to upload if you want to upload early. And after you upload, do not stop there. Like what Vivian said, you have to practice. Do your rehearsal. Again, there's no time limit. You have to make sure you rehearse and see how long it is. And then what are other things that you can do to include to make sure that your speech is more effective or whatever. I'll leave it up to you to change your speech so that it becomes exciting, creative, and so on. Hi, good morning. Okay, so for today, we are going to talk about two things. Starting from today, we are not going to cover like something that's very difficult. Today, we're going to talk about delivery, and we are going to discuss on few different ways that you can deliver in your actual speech. And I'll recommend to you which one that I feel is good for different students. Sutech, the time limit, it has to be minimum 5 minutes to 7 minutes. Yes, Saad, what's your question?
Good morning, sir.
Hi, morning.
Sir, I have a question related to the individual assignment.
Mm,
For example, if you are writing a speech, uh, remember you sent us a sample page
mm-hmm,
in which a introduction para. Uh, I just read that introduction para and it was about his experience, what he
mm-hmm,
experienced about bully.
mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you are writing about another, for example, it is my friend. So I have to mention that it's story from my friend, or I have to mention that name or what, sir.
Okay, Saad, the sample is just a sample. I'll leave to you to create your own speech. The reason why I shared the sample was only to show what your friend from a different semester did. So you don't have to follow that speech or the organization 100%. The introduction, you can choose your own way to introduce. Like a few weeks ago, we talked about attention getter. You can choose your own way of introducing your speech. You don't have to follow what the sample says because that is his speech. For your speech, write it so that it becomes your own speech. You don't have to follow 100%. I just want you to look at the format. The only thing that you have to follow from that sample is the format. The speech, language, organization, I will leave it up to you so that you can be creative with your words examples. Is that
Okay,
clear,
sir.
Saad?
Okay, sir.
Mm,
Let me clear one confusion from you, sir. For
mm,
example, if I am writing about my friend experience, my
mm,
friend had faced that problem. So I should have to mention my friend's name or what, sir?
Up to you. If you want to mention, that's fine. If you don't want to mention, that's fine, because this is your speech. Choose whichever that feels the most effective for you. Okay, if you feel your friend is in this class and it's an embarrassing story, probably I wouldn't share, because we want to make sure they do not feel embarrassed. If it's an inspiring story, then maybe you can share. So it depends on the story as well, Saad. So I cannot tell you like to include the name or not, because that's your speech. If you feel you have to include, include. If you don't want to, it's fine.
Okay, sir. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Welcome. Okay, so for today, we are going to talk about delivery. We've covered quite a lot on good delivery in the past few weeks, and in tutorial class also, we've talked a little bit on good delivery, and we are going to focus a little bit more on that today, but not too in depth, because I feel we've covered quite a lot on that. What I want to really focus today is just to give you idea on different methods of delivery, and later I'll just give you some suggestions or tips before the actual presentation, because some of you, you have gotten your order of presentation. So while you're preparing, so you can follow the tips a little bit to make sure that you are prepared, you're calm, and then you're able to present properly. Okay, so when it comes to your speech delivery, okay, your speech delivery have, like we have discussed many times before, you have to convey your idea clearly, okay, without distracting the audience. So later, when you are finalizing your speech, I want you to go through and put yourself in your audience's shoes. Would they understand this flow of the speech? If there's anything that they wouldn't understand, I want you to change and maybe add more information. Or if it's too much information, maybe delete some information. If you feel this is too much examples here, I'll take that example and put it elsewhere in the speech, perhaps, if you feel that helps with the message. Okay, and when you are presenting, okay, make sure you do not mumble your words. Okay, voice projection needs to be clear. Okay, I know you are at home and you might be presenting in your room, and some of you might be presenting um, early in the morning, so you might, I don't know, I don't know, disturb your family perhaps at your home, but you still have to have clear voice projection. So for this particular activity, I do suggest if you have earphones, just go get one, because it really helps minimizing the background noise and also making sure that your voice projection is a little bit clearer. So if you have earphones, use that. If you do not worry about buying it, because I know most of you are not able to go out. You don't have to buy anything if you don't want to, but I do suggest using earphones just to minimize everything on the background, especially if it's in the morning and you don't want to disturb your family. Then I do suggest having a earphone or using an earphone, so that you don't have to be so loud when you're presenting and we are still able to hear you properly. Okay, and when you are presenting, okay, here the discussion here is given based on physical presentation. Okay, but let me just change this to online presentation, because you cannot see your audience. So always remember, your eye contact is your camera. If you are presenting on your laptop, make uh, direct eye contact there. You don't have to look at your camera at all times. Okay, later I'll show you an example on different methods and what you can do. And when you're presenting as well, make sure you do not speak in a flat delivery. Make sure it's not monotonous. If you have problems with tone, okay, make sure you emphasize words. Like, for example, for me, I do have a problem with my tone of voice. because people tell me quite often that I'm a bit more monotonous when I speak. So what I do was to kind of combat that is including a lot of stresses when we speak. That way, your tone and your delivery will be slightly different. And when you are presenting, the main important thing is your message. We want your audience to understand what your message is. So that's why I asked you to outline what's your objective a couple of weeks ago, so that whatever discussion that you provide, whatever words that you use, however you choose to deliver, it should be able to give that message to your audience. So I'll leave it up to you on how to deliver your message most effectively. Because again, you know your friends more than I do. So you know like what they like, what they don't like, what they are interested in, how to engage them. And do not be afraid of integrating and using all of the tools, because we have this meeting chat. If you want to use the meeting chat, use it. If you want to use slides on the day, use it. But I don't want your slides to have like a lot of points. If you plan to use slides, your slides should be very simple, because you are not presenting, you are giving a speech. So if you plan to use slides, maybe just put like a few words in maybe speech bubbles or boxes, and then use that as guideline when you are speaking. Because I don't want you to follow this, because this is a presentation, the slide that I'm using. But for you, your slide is going to be for a speech. But I usually recommend, if you want to use slides, it should be minimal words. Pictures are fine, videos are fine, less words, less sentences on your slides. Okay, and all of that you can use. You can use your meeting chat. You can use the raise button feature if you want to be creative with the tools that you have. Or if you want to use like any other websites like Kahoot even, do that. If you feel you have time, uh, I encourage you to do that if you want to do it. So be creative with your delivery, but I don't want you to be creative to the point that you think, oh, this is going to be exciting, but it does not have anything to do with your discussion. Whatever way that you deliver, it has to help your audience understand your message. If, let's say, you use Kahoot, for example, it's fun, it's interesting, it's a game basically. But at the end of the message, I don't feel that the Kahoot serves any purpose in your speech. It did not help the audience to understand your message more effectively. Then I'm not going to reward more marks on the use of Kahoot, because it's not used effectively. So whatever you use or don't use, just make sure the message is clear, because that's the one that I'm going to be looking at. And I want you to make sure you have ethos, pathos, and logos. All of these three I'm going to really emphasize at the end of your speech if you have or do not have. So these three elements, your message, and also your delivery. These are important things. And when you are moving, I don't want you to have too much of a dramatic body language. Just a little bit should be fine. Again, we are not presenting, we are giving a speech. So giving a speech usually is a little bit more reserved in your body language, and whatever you do, make sure it's formal. And when I say formal body language, means you do not move way too much, you're not too dramatic, and you're not flailing about when you're presenting. Because again, we're not performing, we're not acting, we're giving a speech. Okay, so your delivery should be a combination of formality. So make sure the words that you use, your friends will be able to understand. Do not include any slangs if not necessary. Like, for example, you want to take slang from let's say you play Among Us, and then you want to say like, this person is sus. Okay, that's slang. We are not encouraged to use that in our particular speech because some people might not be able to understand what that means. So whatever words that you use, make sure it's a word that is easy to understand. And if you have doubts, just Google very quickly on certain words. Is it formal or is it informal? Because you will be surprised that there are a lot of words that we use in our daily English vocabulary. A lot of them are actually informal. So just do a quick Google and it should tell you whether or not the word is formal or informal. Like, for example, let's say you want to talk about someone being fired. If you say this person has been set off from working or whatever, that's informal. Sack off is basically an informal term of saying you have been terminated in terms of your employment. So make sure your word is formal. Double check on Google or dictionary if you want more idea on that. Yes, Al, do you have a question?
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
Is the word stupid or stupidity considered formal?
Okay, okay, good question because I think some of you might be using this word. Okay, stupid is a formal word. Uh, the problem with stupid is you can use it to explain a situation, a scenario. That's fine. Stupid is okay, acceptable. But the problem that can arise with stupid is if, let's say, you refer to someone as stupid in your speech, that's inappropriate. Still formal, but it's inappropriate because you're referring to a group of people as stupid. But you can use stupid. So when I say formal means it should be a word when you check online, it says it does not say that it's informal. And the word stupid is formal. And when we find in dictionary, there's a meaning there. We do not have to find on Urban Dictionary. Do you know what Urban Dictionary is?
Yes.
Yeah, Urban Dictionary is usually like, for those who know, this is a dictionary where we can check the words that we use on the internet most of the time. What does it mean? If your words belong there, most probably it's informal. If you can find words like, let's say, stupid, we can definitely find that in the normal dictionary. So this is a formal word. It's just how you use it. I don't want you to use it as you are referring to someone as stupid, but you can tell if, let's say, it's your own situation or someone in your life has been referred to as stupid. That is fine because you're not insulting. So that word, just be careful how you use it. Is that clear, Al?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, welcome. All right, after that, your presentation. Okay, attribute of a good presentation or public speaking in general is make sure you are direct. You can be a little bit spontaneous. Okay, this one, I do not recommend to everyone because some of you might not be comfortable with a more spontaneous delivery. So I'll discuss about that very soon. If you're not comfortable with that, do not worry. But what I mean by spontaneity here is I do not want you to sound too rehearsed. So when you are practicing, that's great. But when you come to class, I do not want you to sound too robotic. And this is what I usually recommend for most students. A couple of hours before your speech, I don't want you to practice too much because rehearsing too much before the actual presentation can make you sound way too rehearsed. And we don't want that. Because when we are listening to a speech, we want to listen to a human being connect to us. We don't want someone to memorize something and tell us what we should believe in our speech. So make sure it's a little bit more natural, a bit more spontaneous. And if you're not able to make your presentation spontaneous, it's fine. Just make sure you have intonation and tone. Okay, you can be a little bit animated, but not too much. Most probably just use your hand to move around a little bit as your body language and a little bit of your facial expression. And also your vocal expression should be clear to what you're saying. Okay, and we should know that you are not reading. And most of the time, students feel that, oh, it's online. Lecturers will not be able to know whether I'm reading or not reading. I can definitely tell you most lecturers, including myself, we will be able to tell you if you are reading. So there's a difference between reading and referring to your speech. So we will still be able to tell the difference. So I don't want you to read your speech 100%. Yes, Saad?
Sorry to disturb you, sir. I just wanted to ask when we will gonna deliver our speech on which week?
Sorry?
When we will deliver our speech on which week, sir?
We are going to start next week during tutorial class.
Okay, next week.
Yeah.
Tutorial class 17 September, sir.
Your class is on Friday, Saad?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll detail all of the presentation order tomorrow with you. Because I will give you like the order of presentation, and I'll tell you some rules as well tomorrow. Okay?
Okay, sir, thank you.
Okay, welcome. Okay, so when you're speaking or when you're, yes, Alam?
Sir,
Mm.
I think you told me that the presentation will be start at the 13th week.
Yeah. Next week is September 13, but it will be in your tutorial class. So Alam, if your class, I think it's on Friday, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, it will be on that week, but during your tutorial class. So for you, it will be on Friday, unless the scheduler change your class for next week. Then we have to change the timing. But for now, it's going to be your tutorial class, but it will begin next week.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay, so when you're practicing, okay, rehearse properly and then choose what works best for you, because when you're presenting, you should prioritize what you are comfortable with first before you think about what your audience like. Because if you are not comfortable with something, the message will not be able to be delivered effectively to your audience as well. So prioritize yourself first as a speaker. Then number two, think about your audience. Will they be able to understand this? Because I don't want you to try to push yourself too hard to do a lot of different things that's exciting, creative, but it will just make you nervous. If you want to challenge yourself, go ahead, but not necessary. If you feel like you are not able to handle the pressure, whatever, it's okay. Do whatever that's comfortable for you as a speaker, then the message should come naturally to the audience as well. Okay, so for today, we are going to talk about different types of delivery methods. So there are going to be a few different methods here, and you are allowed to choose from a few of these methods that fit your comfort level and skills the most. I'm not going to tell you which one is going to be the one that you have to definitely use next week. Choose whichever that you feel more comfortable with, within your skill and within your confidence level as well. Okay, the first delivery method is going to be a manuscript speech. Manuscript speech is something that we usually hear when we go to a religious gathering. If you go to the mosque or if you go to the church or other religious gathering, they will use manuscript speech method. Okay, so what this means is you will have your speech with you. Okay, you are going to refer to your speech 100%. It's written way before your presentation. And when you are presenting, you are just going to follow exactly what you have written. You are not going to change anything at all. You're not going to include new information. You're not going to delete any existing information. So this is what manuscript speech means. Something that we prepare word for word, and usually we read to the audience. But when I say read, okay, it means you are referring. In our case, I don't want you to read the screen left to right, and your presentation. I don't want that. So if you want to follow manuscript speech delivery, go ahead. But here's my suggestion. Put your speech on your screen, or maybe if you want to print them out, go ahead and do it. Okay, once in a while, refer, make eye contact, refer, make eye contact. And when it comes to manuscript speech, you might want to memorize a little bit, not too much. You're not expected to memorize 100% of your speech, because this is a 5-minute to 7-minute speech. Most of us are not able to memorize things for that long. I will not be able to do it. I think my limit is probably just about 1 to 2 minutes when it comes to a speech. So I'm not able to do it, and I'm not gonna make you do it as well, because I know it's difficult. Most of the time, it's impossible for most speakers the longer your speech is. And even though 5 minutes doesn't sound too long, but in my opinion, it is quite long for us to memorize like word by word. I do not recommend to memorize everything, but you have to know what the first paragraph is going to talk about. Second, you should know roughly. And when you're presenting, you're referring, going back to audience, referring, going back to audience. So the moment you feel like you have to refer, then only you refer. You're not going to read the whole thing like 100%. So that's manuscript speech. Okay, so delivering manuscript speech usually requires great skill, because people are not able to do it well due to the words that come out of the delivery, and some of us, our words come alive if we produce the words on the spot as well. So you have to decide which kind of presenter you are. Okay, if you are the kind of person that feels a bit more comfortable following your script 100%, and you feel you're going to deliver and give your speech more effectively that way, go ahead. If you are like me, because for me, manuscript speech is not something that I like to do, because I feel when I use manuscript speech delivery, I tend to sound incredibly monotonous, and I don't like it as much. I don't find like I'm engaging and connecting with the audience when I'm giving a speech. So if you're like me, you feel like I want to add my own words here and there, this is not the one for you. Or if you want to challenge yourself to improve your public speaking skills so that you are comfortable with a different delivery, this is also not for you. So ask yourself, what kind of speaker am I? Am I comfortable with following everything 100% and deliver everything? Or do I want to change a little bit? If you want to change a little bit on the spot, you don't have to use manuscript speech delivery, because sometimes when it does not suit your delivery method, the presentation is not going to sound good as well. So decide which kind of speaker you are. Okay, but if you choose this method, I just don't want you to appear like you are reading. Again, refer, make eye contact, refer, make eye contact, and continue with your speech until the end of your speech. And you can vary your body language, and you can go to the meeting chat as well if you want to have some kind of interaction with them, but do not read. I'm going to penalize a lot of marks if I sense you read like 100%, like there's no element of manuscript delivery in a sense that you're not referring, you're reading, I'm going to penalize a lot of marks because I don't think it's fair to give more marks for people who read because most of you are going to be presenting. So do not read. Okay, deliver your speech, refer to your speech, make eye contact. Okay, so that's the first method. Okay, the second one, I'm just gonna brush it, cover this very briefly because it might turn up somewhere in your future. The second method is reciting from memory. This is not something that I recommend any of you to do because reciting from memory meaning 100% you have to memorize the content. This only suits something that is very short, usually like 30 minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes, perhaps, depending on your short-term memory. Okay, you can use reciting from memory. But in our class, I do not recommend at all. Okay, examples of speeches that usually we memorize. When you watch like award shows, okay, when they are thanking their parents or whatever, okay, this is an example of reciting from memory. They memorize everything they want to say and then they say exactly that. Or when you're trying to introduce someone in the beginning of a speech, you can memorize that as well. But for us, we are not going to use this because I'm not going to expect any of you to memorize a 5-minute speech because I think that's way too much. Okay, this is also something that we're not going to use in our class. So I'm just going to cover this very quickly. The third one is impromptu speeches. You usually deliver with little or no immediate preparation. This is what we have been doing in tutorial classes. So this is not very good because sometimes you cannot organize your speech properly, you cannot rehearse, you cannot change things if you want to change. So this is also not something that I want you to do. And since you are going to upload your speech on Moodle anyway, I don't want you to speak or provide an impromptu speech at all. Okay, this is something that I don't want you to follow. Okay, but what's good about impromptu speech is it usually works when we have classroom activities because it gives you like a quick outline. You are able to speak informally at times and you are able to guide your audience a bit more easily as well. Like for example, you can just have like simple topic and then you just begin with firstly, secondly, thirdly. So that's usually the most effective way to provide an impromptu speech because you have very little time to prepare. But this is not something that all of you are going to choose as your method of delivery. Okay, the last one is extemporaneous speech. Okay, so this is a speech that is prepared ahead of time, similar to manuscript speech. But the difference here is, okay, manuscript speech, you prepare earlier. And when you're giving the speech, you're going to follow 100%. Okay, extemporaneous speech, you are not going to follow it 100%. You are going to change anything on the spot if you feel like it. Like, for example, prepare your speech. If, let's say, you forget a component of your speech, or if you become nervous, or if you panic, or if you feel like, this word is a little bit difficult, let me change on the spot. So that's what we mean by extemporaneous speech. You still prepare a speech, but you can decide to change a couple of words during your delivery. Like, for example, once you upload your speech on Moodle, all right, and then you're going to present, and then you had a new idea, oh, I should do this. Then you can follow extemporaneous speech, or when you are presenting, you feel like this might be too difficult for them to understand. Then you simplify the words on the spot. This is also used when we are presenting face-to-face, because we can tell whether or not our audience can understand or cannot understand our speech. So when you're presenting your speech face-to-face, you can use this method. This is very good because sometimes when we are presenting face-to-face, we can see our audience. And if they look confused, that means you might have said something. It could be offensive, it could be difficult, it could be something that's complicated for them to understand. So you can use extemporaneous speech to change anything on the spot. So the exact word is usually chosen at the moment of delivery. For example, what I'm doing now is an example of extemporaneous. It's not really a speech because it's a presentation, but I have outlined my slides, and whatever explanation and words that I use, sometimes it follows the slides, sometimes it does not. So you can use this method as well for your actual speech if you are the kind of person that feels more comfortable with that. And this is good for people that might have a different kind of anxiety. Because for me, I have anxiety when I'm too, because normally I am very organized when it comes to things that I want to speak. But because I have social anxiety, sometimes I feel when I'm too organized, I panic and I think too much, and I tend to jumble up my words, and I'm not able to deliver properly. So if you're like me, you tend to feel very anxious, nervous on the spot. If you are way too organized when you are presenting, okay, this is the method for you. Still prepare the speech, okay, but on the spot, if you want to change a couple of words, it's okay. And I'm not going to deduct any of your marks. If, let's say, your speech that you uploaded, you are supposed to use a different word, all right? But in your actual speech, you use another word. I'm not going to deduct your marks. Even if you try to use a manuscript delivery, okay, if, let's say, you panic on the spot, you can just choose different words that you are able to remember on the spot. I'm not going to penalize your mark if your speech is not 100% the same as what you are delivering, like word by word. It's still okay if it's slightly different. Okay, so I'm not going to deduct any marks for that. And the reason why this is good is because it gives you control when you are speaking. Because some people, if you are, if you like to make sure you like to control your mind and your train of thought when you're presenting, this is the right method for you. And if you are kind of like me, tend to get nervous too quickly, trying to think, what have I memorized? This is also for you because you can change few words on the spot. Okay, it also offers greater spontaneity and direction when you are presenting. Because this is very good because when you see your audience, maybe whatever we are delivering might not work. Then change the delivery on the spot if you want to. And this is also something that you can use to adapt to different range of situations and not just a speech. Even during presentation, this is still applicable for any types of presentation. And when you are giving a speech, it also encourages conversational quality in your speech. So for those who might have problems with intonation, I kept on telling, oh, you sound very flat, you sound very flat, you sound very monotonous. Or sometimes I told some of you, you sound way too rehearsed, way too robotic. Then you can use this method so that you sound like you are actually connecting with the audience. So it can encourage your speech to sound like an actual conversation, which is very good because people are a bit more engaged when they feel like, oh, you're giving a speech directly to them or with them. You are conversing with them. Okay, presentation that sounds spontaneous, no matter how many times it has been rehearsed. So when you are presenting, okay, it sounds natural. It doesn't sound like too robotic. It doesn't sound like too planned. So if you are the kind of person, you might want to use extemporaneous method a couple of places. Okay, and when you're presenting as well, you always have full idea of your speech because you can change on the spot. So you are not tied to your manuscript. And if you're the kind of person that feels burdened to be tied to your manuscript 100%, this is the method for you as well. So these are some advantages of extemporaneous speech. Okay, so that's the end of the first session. Okay, we are going to take a break here first. But before we take a break, any questions in terms of your delivery method? Anything that I did not cover or anything that you just thought about when I was talking about the methods earlier?
Sir,
Mm.
hi,
Yes,
how are you?
Michelle? I'm good. How are you?
Good, sir. Could you go back a few slides?
Okay, which one?
No, on the, yeah, no, just ahead, sir,
Ahead.
on the fourth method, yeah.
The fourth method. Okay, this one.
Yeah, next slide, please.
This one, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. This one or
Yeah.
yeah.
So, sir, you mentioned about directions here. What do you mean by that?
Okay, all right. So direction here like this. Let's say whatever organization in your speech, right? You plan to provide. Okay, I want to give them explanation first, definition first. Then I'm going to give examples. Then I'm going to give my message. So let's say that's your direction in your delivery. All right. Sometimes, okay, that might sound maybe too rigid or too rehearsed, or sometimes you have to change a little bit on your direction. Like for example, some of you like in class, you've done this in the speech. Let's say you are talking about students' rights. Okay, you begin with mentioning students' right. Okay, this is why students, we should defend for our right, blah, 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 blah. And then at the end, you mention what are the students' right. So let's say before your actual speech, right, you think that, oh, I think I should give examples first, then you can freely change the direction or organization of your speech however you want to. So you can place maybe the second paragraph later if you want to, if on the spot you feel it will be a bit more effective. Or let's say you have planned to ask a question, but your friends are not reacting, then you might change to a different method. So direction here is whatever you have planned to do. Okay, if let's say it does not go your way, or if let's say on the spot you want to change the way your speech is organized, or the way that you're delivering your speech, or the method that you use to ask questions to engage them, you can change easily because you are not tied to following your manuscript 100%. So if you have a lot of plans for your speech, let's say you want to ask questions, you want to do that, you want to do this, a lot of things. Okay, I encourage a little bit of spontaneity because if let's say on the spot, you just think, oh, I feel I should change a little bit on the placement, you can do that and you will not panic or you will not feel burdened to follow your script 100%. Is that clear, Michelle?
So sir, the direction is basically the structure of the speech, like the order
Yes.
of.
Yes.
Okay, sir.
So on the actual day, you can change the order if you feel it benefits. But let's say whatever that you upload, and then whatever that you present, if let's say I feel whatever that you upload is a bit more effective, I'm just gonna ask you, why did you change? And then from there, I'll listen to your justification and I'll take that into consideration when I'm marking. So as long as you're able to explain yourself why you changed last minute, that's also fine. So if you want to change structure, if you want to change method, questions, you can do that. Okay, clear,
Okay,
Michelle?
sir. Clear. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, welcome. All right, let's take a short 5-minute break. Okay, after this, we are just going to talk about what I'm expecting you to do when you are listening to your friends' speeches, because we are going to have around maybe 2 tutorials where we are going to have only speeches. So I'm going to talk about evaluating your friends' speeches when you are attending the tutorial classes so that you have something to do as well. But before that, let's take a short 5-minute break here. Okay, we don't have much left. We have one more simple topic to discuss. I just want you to give a little bit of things for you to think and do while you're listening to your friend's speech starting next week. So we are going to talk about evaluating a speech presentation, and after we are done with that, let's have like Q&A if you have any questions, and we can end a little bit earlier as well. And by I think next week we should be able to have like shorter lecture going forward if we are able to, because we're almost done with every single thing that we have to cover during lecture class. Okay, but for today, let's talk about evaluating speech presentation. So when you are attending your tutorial class, for those who are presenting, I want you to focus on presentation. But once you are done with the presentation, or if you are presenting at another time, okay, I want you to focus on evaluating your friend's speech presentation. Okay, so there are three things that I want you to have in mind when you are going through your friend's delivery and speech. And we are going to talk about all of these three things. So when you are listening to your friend's speech, okay, I want you to think about their delivery style. Okay, and I want you to think about the content. And the last thing is some intangibles. So I'll explain that very, very soon what it means. Okay, the first one is your friend's delivery. So however that they deliver their speech, I want you to look at maybe their energy level, maybe their humor. Do you think it works? If they use any visual aids, is it effective? Is it not effective? What can be improved? And obviously this one we're not going to include in our discussion because we don't really have a stage, but you can definitely provide them if you feel they move too much, they move too less, and that will fall more under gestures and eye contact. Anything that's missing or too much in terms of gestures and eye contact. After that, I also want you to look at their vocal variety. Do they have intonation or tone? Do they emphasize important words? Does it make you easy to understand what they're trying to say? And is their voice projection clear? And the language that they use, is it easy for you to understand? And all of this is important because you are the audience. So whatever your feedback is, okay, it should reflect on how your friends can and should improve in the future as well for presentations, or if you have any other speech presentation. So that's their delivery. So basically, some of these things are a bit objective because some of us might like people with less body language. Okay, as some of us might like people with more body language. So these are some feedbacks that you can let your friends know about so that they can improve themselves, especially for the group presentation that I'm going to assign probably next week. We are going to start doing group presentation as well. So that's their delivery. Okay, after that, how much do you think they know the content that they are presenting? Do you think they know what they were talking about? Were they credible? Like, for example, I think I talked about this example once in class. Like, I had a student that talks about Star Wars, but I mean, I'm not a big fan. I know enough about Star Wars to know when there's some factual inaccuracy. So I was able to identify it. And then in the audience as well, there was a lot of big fans when it comes to Star Wars. So there was a lot of inaccuracy with the content that this person is talking about. And I was able to identify that. The audience was able to identify that as well. So make sure whatever content that you provide is accurate to the topic. Make sure you do your research properly. Okay, and that's just one example. Obviously, most of you are not going to be talking about Star Wars. Most of you are probably going to talk about different topics. Again, okay, this is something that you have to keep in mind because we don't know what your friends or me, as a matter of fact, might know when it comes to different factual information. Because people sometimes they feel, oh, I'm just going to put random numbers and then that will make it sound credible. Okay, but more often than not, you might going to be caught if it's like random numbers that's probably not credible at all. So make sure the content is good, is clear, and make sure you're also critical when you are providing your speech to influence your audience, because sometimes it's not enough to influence them. You did not cover a lot of information. Maybe you did not give definition, perhaps. So make sure all of that you think about and then let your friends know regarding your speech. Regarding their speech. Okay, and there are a few objectives here. We are just going to focus on two in this class, which is educating, which is informing, and also to persuade. Motivating can fall under persuading as well because I feel it's related. But in this class, we are not going to focus on entertainment because that's not the reason why you are giving the speech. Your speech can be entertaining, it can be funny, it can be interesting to listen to, but that should not be the main objective. Like, for example, when you're giving a speech, do not rely too much on jokes, but there's no content at all. Because again, we are trying to inform or educate or motivate or persuade our audience. Okay, and after that, when you're listening to your friend's speech, do you think their primary message is delivered? How do they deliver it? Is it effective? Okay, why is this person delivering the speech? Is it credible? Like, for example, if you're talking about global warming, okay, let your audience know what's your credibility regarding this topic. Why should they listen to you about global warming? Because none of us are experts when it comes to global warming. So if we were to give a speech about global warming, why should we listen to you? Maybe your facts, maybe the reason why you want to help decrease the problem that comes with global warming. And most importantly, the message and objective. Are they achieved? If you have more than one, are they achieved? If you have one message, is it achieved? And the last one is a bit more abstract, okay, but important nonetheless. Okay, intangibles are something that is a bit more impossible to really list because these are not the things that we can really have like a category on. But when you're listening to the speech, how do you think the speech makes you feel? Is it too emotional? Is it not enough emotions? So what do you think about that? And then were you convinced with the way that they deliver? And were you influenced by what they're trying to say? And let's say if this person were to give a speech again, would you want to pay attention again? Are you excited? Are you interested? And original ideas. Do you think their ideas or techniques are good? And all of these are very subjective. It's just how do you feel as an audience? Again, quite important as well when we are evaluating a speech. So these are three things that I just want you to think when you're listening to your friend's speech. And after each presentation or after each class, if we have time, we'll go through a little bit on what do you think is the standout of the day's speech. Any improvements that some of your friends have to provide, perhaps. So we are going to, we're probably not going to have like the evaluation after every single speech, because if we were to do that, I think we have to drag it for about 4 or 5 weeks, and I don't think we have enough time for that. But what I'm going to do, especially for larger classes, we're going to finish all of the speeches, and at the end, we are just going to go through a little bit. What are the standout? What do you like best? What are some improvements that some of your friends need to? So while you're listening, you can jot down anything so that we can discuss. And this is important because it's not only for your friends, it's also for yourself. So while you're jotting down whatever comment that you feel about your friend's speech, okay, even if you don't want to give, that's okay, because you can use it for your self improvement, for your own speech. Let's say your friend just did something that you feel that's not very good, and then you just jot it down, and it will act as a reminder for you. I don't want to do it like this. And double check your speech. Do you have any elements of that? And change before the delivery. And this is also good because speech with any objective, we have to approach them with honesty. And we have to also think positively as well. So when you are giving feedback, you have to think positive, because these are human beings. Do not be too harsh with the comment. It has to be constructive feedback, but at the same time, it has to be honest. It can be your own honest opinion. If you feel it's not very good, it's all right. Let them know what needs improvement. Be careful with your words. If you feel, if you tell them, oh, your speech is crap, okay, it's not motivating, it's not a positive way to deliver your feedback, tell them, okay, I feel the speech could be a bit more effective if you do this. Give some suggestions so that they can apply this in their group presentation as well. Okay, and whatever you evaluate, the speaker doesn't and not know who the speaker is. Let's say when you're evaluating, all right? If you feel you do not know who the speaker is, let them know so that they can improve on their honesty and connecting with the audience. And the last one, whatever you see or whatever you feel, let them know, but obviously in a polite way and constructive way. So this is a simple exercise that we're going to do in the actual speech delivery. And for most of you, we have done this in tutorial class up until now. Your friends give a speech, you provided a little bit of feedback. But next week, I want you to pay attention. I don't want you to say, oh, I was not paying attention. Everything is good, because no matter how good your friend's speech is, maybe there's some kind of feedback that you feel can make them better. Or if you feel there's no improvements at all, let them know what's good about their speech. Explain. I don't want you to say, oh, everything is good, every point is informational, that's it. Because it might make it seem like you're not paying attention to their speech as well. So provide specific feedback when you are listening to them. And after that, we'll have like maybe around 10-15 minutes at the end of every class to discuss on your outcomes, feelings, and evaluation. Okay, so that's basically the end of it. But okay, a few a bit more. Before the speech, review the guideline. We have 3 things that we are going to remember. And most importantly, you are going to evaluate the speech, not the person. If, let's say, you don't like this person, do not personally attack them for who they are. Even if they say something that's inappropriate, can let them know properly so that they can improve as a speaker. And this is also something that to promote your self-esteem and the speaker's self-esteem as well. So that's why I'm encouraging you to make sure the feedback is specific so that they know what they did well, what they didn't do so well with their speech. So that's basically the end of today's presentation. So for today, I just want to bring your attention to your Moodle. Okay, okay, you can start uploading now if you want to, but BF, DS, and ENG group, you might want to wait for tomorrow. Those who have class with me tomorrow, please wait up until at least after our tutorial class tomorrow before start submitting. If you have submitted, don't worry, you can resubmit if you want to. But those who have had tutorial class with me, you can start uploading if you want to. So this is your submission link. So you can start uploading now. The deadline is going to be up until September 17. And we are going to start with the presentation next week. If your class is on Monday, we are going to have it on Monday. If your class is on Wednesday, we are going to have it on Wednesday. And if your class is on Friday, we are going to have the presentation on Friday. Okay, so before we take attendance, any questions or anything you want to clarify? Yes, Saad?
Hello, sir.
Hi.
Sir, the topic that I had told you,
Mm-hmm.
I can make it as a funnier one, as comedy. The topic that I have chosen.
You can include jokes, Saad, but I don't want it to be like 100% comedy because we're not entertaining. We are persuading or giving information. They should still be a message there, but you can include jokes.
Okay, sir.
Okay, let's see. Okay, since this is a replacement class, let me see if we can generate the QR code. Okay, I cannot generate the QR code. So for today's attendance, I'll give everything manually. I'll look at your attendance report earlier, who's here and who's not here. So for today's attendance, I will provide them manually. Okay, okay, so we are able to dismiss here. So have a good day for the rest of the day, and good luck for your presentation as well. I will see you all again. Some of you next week with the presentation. Some of you are going to see you tomorrow first. So all the best with your submission and see you again very soon. All the best with your presentation.
Thank you, sir. Have a nice day.
Welcome, you too.